Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the award-winning Squared Circle. Once again, we had a week off last week, but we are back here February 10th, 2013. I'm Hollywood J. Williams.
I'm John Zimmerman.
And we have too many things to get to this week. We have to do double the work because we weren't around last week because of a snowstorm.
Well, yeah, Mother Nature kept us out of the studio, and you know, it was the right thing. It was the right call to make.
Yep.
You know, we have our staff here, and we want to keep everybody safe. Safety is the first and cardinal rule of wrestling, as
exactly.
PWA students well know. Safety is first.
I'm big on safety myself,
yep.
So that the roads are safe tonight as opposed to last night.
Amen.
But WWE Raw will return tonight to Los Angeles, California, where they'd never have to worry about snow. The main focus will be continuing to hype the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view coming up in 2 weeks. In the ring, the top match is WWE World Heavyweight Champion Randy Orton taking on John Cena, once again in a non-title match. This will be a match, match number 3 for Orton in his pre-chamber gauntlet series that the Authority is making him go through.
Yep.
Also advertised tonight is the return of Mark Henry after suffering an ankle injury. And also TV legend Betty White will be the Raw guest star. Full talent will include Orton, Cena, Batista, Daniel Bryan, Sheamus, The Big Show, The Shield, The Wyatts, Tag Team Champions, New Age Outlaws, Del Rio, The Authority, and AJ Lee.
Well, I guess the addition of Betty White, since we lost Mae Young, Betty White's the next oldest
maybe
woman
so.
in line. It's got to be that. I have no idea what Betty White is going to add to Monday Night Raw. What demographics she's going to bring in, but I don't know. I guess depends.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's Betty White. Everybody loves Betty White.
Oh, yeah.
I remember the Golden Girls. She's the only surviving member of the Golden Girls.
That's correct. Wow, I didn't think of that. Yeah, that
it is true. But also wanted to pass along some unfortunate news. The passing of longtime WWE audio technician Frank Bullock of cancer this past Saturday. A lot of people, a lot of superstars, past and present, offering their condolences. I actually never heard of the man, but I am sorry to hear about that.
Well, I'm sure, you know, like our staff here, they've become part of our family, and, you know, you work with them week in and week out. Mm-hmm. And, you know, behind the scenes, we don't get to see a lot of it, but I'm sure these guys have worked, you know, just like I said, our staff here, they hook us up with mics and the earpiece and get everything, the magic happening for us. So I'm sure, you know, they knew him well.
Yeah,
but,
enough.
For the general public, I mean, it's a sad thing, but you know, like you said, we didn't know who he was.
But I'm sorry to hear about that anyway. Yeah. This week will also, this is very important because it could mean switching to a different network if something isn't resolved here. It represents the final stage of TV contract negotiations between WWE and NBC Universal. Now, if a deal is not reached by February 14th, the two sides are expected to part ways. Apparently, WWE is asking for 2 or 3 times the amount of money they have already. Something about that?
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, recent acquisitions by other sports entertainment companies. You know, NFL has a great deal. MLB has a great deal. You know, different companies have negotiated large contracts for airing their product on TV. And WWE has proven with Monday Night Raw and the ratings, as we post the ratings every week, that for the USA Network, it's their #1 show. And for the Sci-Fi Network, again, it's the #1 show. WWE programming has proven on basic cable to be a very hot commodity. So asking, you know, a little more for, you know, a proven product isn't unreasonable. And they're not asking for anything that, you know, similar product isn't getting. So, you know, it's what the market will bear. And more than likely, Universal will come to some sort of deal. You know, if not, you know, there's plenty of other cable outlets out there.
Yeah, we talked about the other possibilities. Spike.
Yeah.
The Turner Networks. It would be interesting seeing them on Spike along with
You know, speaking of Spike, real quick, if I can interject.
Go ahead.
TNA is obviously on Spike TV, and they run on Thursday nights. Well, CBS, also talking about the NFL, CBS has contracted 8 of the Thursday night games from the NFL. And that's going to go right head-to-head with TNA Impact. And the demographic being much the same, I think, also with the network showing NXT, I think TNA's got a real uphill battle ahead of them with the ratings.
Not that they didn't have one already, but...
Yeah, TNA's, the competition right now for TNA is just going to dwarf them.
Dwarf them big time next year. That's not good news for them.
No.
But this deal apparently with NBC, Universal, WWE, apparently the current value of all programming for WWE is worth around $140 million. So it's going to be interesting to see. They offered, NBC offered to help build a Hall of Fame attraction at Universal Studios in Orlando.
Right. Yeah, I believe that would be in the vacant NBA restaurant. What used to be right on the City Walk there. So
it'd be a perfect location for it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's the City Walk is an area between Islands of Adventure and Universal Studios that you don't need a ticket to enter. You know, there's all sorts of restaurants and that type of attractions, restaurants and bars and eateries and stuff like that. And you know, tourists can go there and walk the City Walk, especially during the evening. They have like a carnival kind of atmosphere. So it would be a great attraction. And like I said, you don't need a ticket to get into the park to see that particular area, you know, between the two parks, the City Walk. So I think it's a great spot for it. And naturally the weather is going to be nice year-round.
Year-round, you don't have to worry about snow.
It is a tourist attraction. You know,
unless I move down there, then maybe.
Well, if you move down there, take this crap with you. So.
No.
But yeah, I think it's a great spot. It would be really a great place for it to be, rather than up here where you wouldn't be able to access it as easily year-round.
Right. There's not too many places to put a Hall of Fame up here for the WWE.
No.
You know, I can think of maybe the casinos getting involved with something like that, but...
Yeah, but, you know, I mean, it's not really a tourist attraction.
Right.
People aren't going to go there, you know. I mean, you already have a lot of foot traffic going to Universal and, you know, the greater Orlando area. So I think it's a good fit.
Right.
You know,
you're talking about a city that's apparently larger in size than New York City itself.
Yeah. And being that their performance center is relatively close to there, it wouldn't be unreasonable for some of the upcoming superstars to drop in on the Hall of Fame or have some sort of interaction there. So I think it's a great spot.
Right. I remember that. It's 10 highway exits from what I recall.
I think that's about it, yeah.
Just the park, just the Disneyland and all that.
Oh, yeah.
But also, speaking of pay-per-views, WWE has made a decision concerning a pay-per-view that occurred in 1999, the Over the Edge pay-per-view, about placing it on their network. They had decided in the past 2 weeks that they are going to include that pay-per-view. The pay-per-view, if anybody recalls, is where Owen Hart's death took place.
Right.
That will obviously be edited out.
Right.
What they said is going to be edited upon release on the network. They made a similar call as it pertains to Chris Benoit matches, placing them on the network. Anytime you see a Chris Benoit match on the network, it's going to have a disclaimer. 2009, Vince McMahon was interviewed by WWE Magazine, and he basically laid it all out, talking about how to talk about Benoit's history without like putting a big spotlight on him, is what he said. He said it's not right to pretend he didn't exist.
Right.
It's one thing to include him as part of a historical perspective, which I believe is okay, and it's another thing to promote him, which is not. It's a similar situation to the situation O.J. Simpson. I mean, O.J. Simpson was a big part of the NFL.
Right.
And the NFL had a bit, big dilemma on what to do once he got in trouble.
Right. If you listen to Talk is Jericho, it's a podcast that Jericho's been doing for a couple months now. He gets into it a little bit, and he mentioned that when he was putting his DVD together, Breaking the Code, I think it was called.
Right.
When he was putting that together, that he wanted to include some of the Benoit matches because he came up at a time, he and Benoit
came up together pretty much.
Were relative rookies together, and had trained at Stu Hart's dungeon, and came up together and had a lot of had a lot of good matches together, and he wanted to include some of it. And at the time, he was told he wasn't able to do so. And it kind of disappointed him because they did have some seriously good matches, and unfortunately, what happened later. But you can't deny that the guy had some wrestling ability. He was a popular guy. He was world champion at one point.
Definitely.
And you can't just erase that from the history board. Just like you can't erase O.J. Simpson's accomplishment on the field. And what happens off the field and what happens after the world of wrestling, we can't control.
No, nobody can.
Unfortunately, that did happen, and again, you don't want to draw attention to it,
right.
But you can't deny that Chris Benoit and Chris Jericho had some great matches, and not only that, he had matches with
Chris
a lot
Benoit
of different,
had great matches with a
lot of different superstars, right?
Right.
And as far as editing out Owen Hart, absolutely I agree with that. I mean, you're not. It would be unfair not to show that pay-per-view because it's part of the canon and the history of the WWE. So editing that out and that's just in good taste.
Exactly. Just not to include the match at all, just continue on with the pay-per-view.
Exactly. And I'm sure that you're going to see some Owen Hart footage along the way because I mean he was a big part of the history, and when he got into the feud with Bret Hart. I mean, you can't deny that. It was some great TV. Excuse me. So I mean, you have to show some of his matches, but obviously you're not going to show him dying in the ring.
No, there would be no way. Nobody wants to relive that.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Absolutely not. Something that made national headlines when that happened. I mean, big controversy. You're talking top story on World News Tonight, I remember. Yeah. It's funny how an industry that really ignores the WWE overall, when something negative happens, they just jump all over it. TMZ doesn't talk about WWE unless something bad happens. Entertainment Tonight, any of the news shows. The major news outlets, ABC, NBC News, CBS News, they won't talk about. I remember MSNBC did a story about the tribute to the troops once.
Right.
I remember.
But it's really funny that, I mean, a show like Entertainment Tonight, Entertainment Weekly, that, those outlets, they'll highlight sports and they'll highlight entertainment, but they don't talk about the WWE.
They did mention when they purchased WCW, they did mention that in the mainstream news.
Right. So. I mean, that's once on Entertainment Weekly's on, on every week, and, Entertainment Tonight is on. Entertainment Weekly is printed every week. Entertainment Tonight is on every night, and you would think that hour spot that they have, or that 100-page magazine that they have, they can highlight something in the WWE.
Yes.
But they just don't. They completely ignore the industry, and despite all of that, despite the regular media ignoring them, Vince has built a $1.7 billion company.
In spite of it all.
Yes. Now, can you imagine if he got a little support and a little promotion from the mainstream media? How much more over the top he can get.
How would you like the day to come when WWE results are talked about in the sports edition of the regular news? Yeah, I mean, it would be at least some of the highlights. Once in a while they'll get like Access Hollywood. Because of the Maria Menounos, I think that's her name, connection, like around the WrestleMania. That's you might get some mainstream media, but other than that, they're pretty much ignored. It's really strange. It's sad in a way.
They'll talk about all other, like music and movies and and other sports, but they completely ignore the world of wrestling, but yet we cover it.
We cover it.
We don't need
That's why we're here.
We don't need entertainment tonight.
I want to switch over to indies real quick because I got a big story here. I mean, it's something that I'm sure everybody wants to talk about.
Yep.
And it's going to consume some of our time. But what is PWA? It's going to be 22nd?
Yes, February 22nd at the Bristol Boys and Girls Club, Bristol, Connecticut. I believe we have some stills to go over. The match is coming up. Stevie Richards, former WWF and Blue World Order star. One of the matches, as you see on your screen, is Azrael versus Lucifer Lords. Lucifer Lords currently holds the title of PWA International Champion, and Azrael is a former PWA International Champion, and he also has the Tough 8 Championship Cup. So that'll be a hotly contended match. I'm really looking forward to that. And their pay-per-view or event is called Hard Day's Night. Ironically enough, the 50th anniversary of the Beatles at Sullivan Studio yesterday. So we're one day removed from that, which I thought was fantastic. I don't know if anyone watched the show, but I'm a big Beatle fan myself, and it was great to see Paul and Ringo get back together. But Hard Day's Night, February 22nd at the Bristol Boys and Girls Club. If we can have the other stills, that would be great. Our crack staff.
We're going to have to give them a pay cut.
Next time we will make you come in the snow.
That's right.
Life and limb. But Joseph Von Schmidt is going to fight Stevie Richards. I'm really looking forward to that. I haven't seen Stevie Richards in quite some time. I know he's done some of the independent circuits. There it is. Joseph Von Schmidt.
Stevie Richards.
Stevie Richards.
The Blue World Order, the right to censor.
Yes, yes.
Raven's Flock, among other things.
That should be fantastic. I know we got a still Wrecking Ball Legursky is going to be in some action.
Wrecking Ball Legursky, I remember his match, the last PWA event.
Oh, the hardcore match he had with Bull Dread was absolutely incredible.
Totally amazing.
And that was the match of the year for myself last year. That was fantastic. That was the highlight of the night, other than my son Jacob wrestling for the first time in public.
And I got to tell you, that was amazing what Jacob and those other kids did.
Yeah, you can find that on YouTube if you look up the PWA Youth Program. Abby Jo shot the video and put it up on YouTube for us, and did a great job. Great job. And on the 22nd, I know there's a brilliant cameraman going to be there.
A brilliant cameraman.
Absolutely.
One of the best in the business. Yes,
one of the best in the business. Mr. Dylan Zimmerman, of course.
Of course.
He's part of the crack staff over at PWA now, and we thank Mr. Joseph Von Schmidt very much for that. Here it is. There's the whole card.
February 22nd, Boys and Girls Club, 105 Laurel Street, Bristol, Connecticut.
And you can find all the information on ProWrestlingAcademyCT.com. ProWrestlingAcademyCT.com. They're on Facebook.com under PWACT. It's a great product. It's a lot of fun. Bring the family. Tell the neighbors. Wake the kids.
Wake the kids.
You know.
And there is an alternative for those that do not wish to go there. There is an NAFW card in Chicopee, as far as I know, that there is.
On the same day. Okay.
Right.
Double book again.
Right. Roses and wrist locks.
That I haven't seen the information on, but if you have anything on that, if not, well,
I don't have too much, but anybody
we will research that.
Definitely go to their website. They have New England NAFW, New England Frontier Wrestling.
Yes.
.com.
Yes.
Right. We might be getting a phone call in a minute or two.
Sounds like it.
Does sound like it.
I can hear it in the background.
You can hear it in the back, but. The number one thing on everybody's mind in the last 2 weeks, since the Royal Rumble was over, is somebody that is no longer working right now.
All right. Before we get into that, can we take the call?
We have the call?
Yes.
we'll get to our story in just a moment, but why don't we just take this call? You are live on the Squared Circle.
I saw that Beatles thing last night, and what the heck was wrong with Yoko Ono? So.
I believe she's 80 years old.
That's what I thought, and she looked kind of out of it. It was a great special to see to someone who was a very young man who remembers the Beatles when they appeared on Ed Sullivan back in '64. It didn't bring back a lot of memories, but yeah, she looked out of place, and I know she's up there in years, but yeah, that was kind of a weird thing, but it was a good program.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I think they put it together very well, and all the artists involved paid a real nice tribute to I think one of the bands that influenced everybody, really. I mean, after the Beatles hit America, I think more people picked up guitars and said, "Hey, I want to do that."
Mm-hmm. Than inspired a lot of people.
Yeah, than any other band.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe Elvis, turned some people on, but I really think the Beatles started the whole industry of getting in your garage with your friends and playing.
Mm-hmm.
I also did want to comment just briefly on something you mentioned earlier about wrestling not getting enough play in the mainstream media.
Yep.
I remember a couple of years ago on HBO, Bob Costas had a couple. Actually, he had 2 interviews with Vince McMahon, and in the first interview, I don't know, John, you may recall, Vince McMahon kind of stayed in character and really was rude and antagonistic. It was almost kind of bullying Costas.
Right.
It was a tough interview.
Yeah.
And about a year later, he came back and he was a little bit more mellow.
Mm-hmm.
But it was, it was a little bit of put wrestling in what we call the mainstream media.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you remember about 20 years ago, I think didn't Saturday Night Live once a month, they used to, instead of Saturday Night Live, they would have wrestling
on. They would have Saturday
Yes.
night's main event.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought, and that was good. So
yeah, and that goes back to what we were talking earlier, the deal where they're trying to cut with NBC Universal. NBC was very big fans at the time. Dick Ebersol was friends with Vince McMahon, and that's how they got the deal to take the spot on Saturday Night Live once a month. And if you look at some of the interviews with Dick Ebersol, he admits that time slot, WWE knocked him out of the water, knocked SNL out of the water once a month.
Oh, was that right?
Yes, it did.
Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah.
I never even used to watch Saturday Night Live myself. I think I might have even started watching it because it was on the weeks that the Saturday night's main event wasn't on.
Right.
And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, you talked about the Beatles and 50 years old. February 10th, 1990, and for any Squared Circle historians, the punch heard around the world in Tokyo, Japan, when a 38-1 underdog named James Buster Douglas defeated Mike Tyson. It happened to be February 10th over in Tokyo.
Yes.
I remember it like it was yesterday. So. Where's the Thunderous one?
The Thunderous one is on assignment this evening, and hopefully we'll have him back next week.
Hopefully. We haven't seen him in a long time.
He took the trophy out to get it polished.
Yeah.
Well, count your blessings if you haven't seen him. So all right, gentlemen, that's all for me tonight.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Nice hearing from you again. The incomparable Mr. Ed McCarver.
Oh, yeah, Ed McCarver, definitely. And I'm sure he remembers the Beatles on Ed Sullivan. I wasn't around yet.
I wasn't around yet at all.
I was almost here.
I wasn't even a thought. I'm not even sure my parents met at that point.
I don't know.
Long time ago. But this is the thing that's fresh on everybody's mind still, and the thing that people ask me about all the time in the last 2 weeks.
Yes.
And it's right after the Royal Rumble. We know what happened in the Royal Rumble. We know that CM Punk was the individual to draw number 1, and that he was eliminated.
Well, he was assigned number 1, actually.
He was, he was assigned number 1, and he was eliminated by Kane, who had already been eliminated. And we know they went fighting backstage, and ever since then, we have not seen, or the WWE has not made mention of Mr. Philip Michael Brooks, CM Punk. just because apparently 2 weeks ago he walked off the job on Monday right before Raw. He told Vince McMahon he was leaving, and he was leaving right then and there, and that was it. And he's been taking off all upcoming shows moving forward. And it doesn't seem to be driven by a storyline. It seems to be driven more by truth. A lot of things led up to it, but you have any immediate thoughts?
I was of the mindset that this was real, that CM Punk was upset about the whole Batista deal and coming in and taking the spotlight like The Rock did a couple weeks, last year. And
that's apparently a lot of it.
Someone in the industry today kind of flipped my head on it and said that, this may be a giant work, and that Punk and McMahon have worked this out and even convinced the boys in the locker room that it's real. So that Punk can leave, heal, because he's been injured and working injured for quite some time now.
He's been working real injured.
And it'll give him time to leave, get himself healed, and then make a huge comeback. And I'm really wondering, just the way this person put it to me, and I won't name the source, but it convinced me that, yeah, you know what, it may be a work. But until I spoke to him today, I really thought it was real. So
yeah,
you know what, I'm going to wait. I'm going to take a wait and see attitude with it.
That's probably the best attitude to take, because from what I hear, he's really burnt out, really exhausted. He's not planned anything. He's still under contract to the WWE till July. Right. So there is some opportunity, if this is a real thing, to hopefully get it worked out. But a lot of the feedback I get is he's not coming back. If he comes back, it's not going to be. He's going to redo a new contract, and he's going to wait out the 6 months and just take it easy. It has that might have a lot to do with his straight edge attitude towards life. Right.
His current contract runs out in July, so we still have a long wait to see what's going to happen. You
figure if he's been working injured and he's straight edge. Straight edge means no drinking, no drugs. Right. They give him anesthesia if they need surgery. Right. And that's it. So you imagine all the pain and suffering he goes through.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. And he's an excellent performer, and he's a very well liked guy in the industry, and we'll see where they go with it. Right. But it would be, if this is a work, it's probably one of the better, maybe the best, because even the guys in the locker room
he's got everybody convinced that this is the case.
That
But leading up to all this, February 23rd, CM Punk gave his annual in-depth interview to MMA reporter Ariel Helwani at his home in Chicago. He talked about not being sure if he would stay with the WWE or not when his contract expired. He also joked in a rather revealing way that he wouldn't be a fan of wrestling right now if it wasn't for himself being on WWE TV. I remember that interview. I saw the whole thing. Yep. The 24th, he appeared at a Comic-Con event in Portland, Oregon. The 25th, he attended the UFC on Fox event in Chicago. And this followed Punk requesting the weekend off from all the house shows. Right. And then that leads us to the Royal Rumble, where he went nearly 50 minutes in the match until he was eliminated by Kane in the final four. And WWE appeared to be setting up a Punk-Kane mini feud, which would fuel the eventual Triple H CM Punk feud, leading up to a match at WrestleMania.
Which, you know what, honestly, we really don't need to see Triple H in the ring anymore.
But that's neither here nor there.
So let's hope that Punk doesn't come back for WrestleMania, so we don't have to see Triple H in the ring.
We probably will see Triple H in the ring, but
I hope not.
February 27th, we're going over to. Punk was left off Raw following a series of rewrites.
Yep.
Punk reportedly told Vince he was leaving to go home. The next night on SmackDown, Punk was the top star advertised for the TV taping, but he did not appear in front of a live crowd after going home the previous night. They wouldn't expect him to be there. According to TMZ, Punk was quite serious about his decision to leave, framing his reasoning as being upset over how he was scheduled to be used at WrestleMania 30 in a match against Triple H. He wanted to be featured in the title match, the main event, which is now slotted for Batista. Although he had complimented Batista in his interview with Ariel Helwani for returning to a full-time schedule, TMZ suggested Punk was upset Batista got the title shot after showing up to the Rumble not in great wrestling shape.
Right.
So a lot of people weighed in on this. Jim Ross, the former announcer, he gave his take on his perspective of what happened. He was the former head of talent relations. He might know what he's talking about here. He has a blog spot called jrsbarbecue.com.
Yes.
Where he talks about different things. He said, as I'm quoting him, Punk has not been a happy camper within WWE for quite some time. Plus, Punk is tired, beat up, and not enjoying himself at work. Sort of what warehouse people go through when they work 70 hours a week. Not that I would know anything about that.
Right. Right. Yeah, I mean, Ross is still friendly with the company. So, I mean, Ross could be obviously being fed this. But, you know, I mean, JR is been pretty much a straight shooter. But he also has been involved in storylines.
He's been involved in storylines. He was the head of the talent relations for quite some time.
So, I mean, take it as you will.
Take it as you will. Take this as you will. He continued on. Matters such as this generally concern one or both of the two C's, cash in or creative. Punk is mentally and physically burned out, and he's not having enough professional fulfillment to work through his issues. He needs a break. Ross also addressed whether he thinks this is part of a storyline. He doesn't seem to think so. He said, no, I don't think this is an elaborate TV storyline, but instead, it's about a highly motivated, talented wrestler who at times feeds off the chip on his shoulder. A lot of them do.
Yeah.
Which is not necessarily a bad thing. He has hit the wall and isn't enjoying what once was his primary professional focus, dare say his life. Ross went on to say that it's best for Punk to probably stay off WrestleMania, and that he doesn't think Punk has wrestled his last match yet. Which, you know, you got to say, if this is a work or not, there probably might come a time where he might come back.
Oh, yeah, definitely. We haven't seen the end of CM Punk. He's not just going to ride off into the sunset. You know, he's definitely not going to show up on TNA.
No, TNA can't afford the people that he has now.
Right, right. And
they have now.
Yeah, Ring of Honor is probably out of the question too. So, I mean, his options right now are really limited. Is if he wants to make money. If he wants to wrestle, you know, there's some other.
He could probably go back to Ring of Honor.
Smaller, yeah. You know,
he won't be making what he made.
He won't be making a quarter or a tenth of what he made at WWE. So, I mean, we'll see him somewhere.
Right.
You know, it's just a matter of the ball is really in his court. You know, if and when his contract with WWE runs out, he can write his own ticket almost anywhere. But depending on how big a ticket that is.
A similar situation happened now with Stone Cold Steve Austin back in 2002, where he took his ball and he went home. He got tired of the storylines, writing, whatever, and he just left the company. He was on the Arsenio Hall show. I'm going back 2 weeks because we weren't on last week.
Right.
This is everything I was going to talk about last week, guys. He gave his take. This is what he thinks the two of them, McMahon and Punk, should sit down, smooth things out, and just return when he feels like it.
Right.
Good advice from somebody that definitely knows.
Yeah.
He considers Punk a friend and that he is a hard-headed man at times. He also thinks it's bad timing. with WrestleMania 30 coming up in the network, which it probably is.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, there's a guy, Stone Cold, that got out of wrestling and created other avenues for himself.
Mm-hmm.
And he's done some acting, a lot of straight-to-video or straight-to-DVD, I should say.
He's had some pretty interesting movies.
And you know, now you hear me talk about the Steve Austin show all the time. He's doing very well with that. It's something he can do from wherever he happens to be. He does it from the ranch. He does it from his office in L.A. and anywhere in between. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you know, just a microphone and a computer is all he needs, and a phone line. So he has his guests call in and hooks them right up to his computer, and boom, there's
Mm-hmm.
his podcast. So, and he's growing. He's the #1 podcast on the Podcast One network, and Jericho's slowly catching up to him. And it's ironic, they both have like the same advertisers behind them. And Jericho fully admits that having been a guest on the Steve Austin show, Steve Austin said, "Hey, you're a good talker. You should do this too."
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, a lot of the same people that listen to the Steve Austin show are going to jump over to talk as Jericho. So he's you know, doing well for himself, and he's never going to wrestle again.
No.
You know, with the injuries that he has, and
the neck right there. That would dissuade me.
Yeah, the neck and the knees,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, but he's happy doing what he's doing, and he's profitable doing it, and he's one of the few guys that while he was making it cash-wise, he was saving it. You know, he wasn't out doing foolish things with it, so he's got himself a nice spread out in Texas there. And, you know, he's got his office in L.A., and he's doing what he wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and he's got another reality show that he's been talking about. Hopefully we'll get the details soon. And his last reality show, the Redneck Island, did very well, but unfortunately didn't get picked up again for whatever reason, because his feeling was that they really didn't promote it enough.
No.
But it was a fun show, and he was a really good host and a fun talent on it. I mean, he was fun to watch. So he doesn't need a WWE.
Right.
And I don't think a guy like CM Punk is going to be able to make that transition. So I think
not at this time.
Right. You'll see
years down the road.
I don't know if he has the same temperament and, you know, character, you know, likability that a Stone Cold Steve Austin has.
He was one of the more popular figures in recent years, though. I mean, you talk about the most popular. I think right now I'd say Daniel Bryan.
Yeah.
And between Punk and Cena holding #2 and #3. So it's sort of a big loss right now.
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
well, for the wrestling world. But I'm saying, you know, CM Punk, a career after wrestling, I don't know if he can make that transition.
I don't know if he could
like The Rock has.
I don't know if he could make the transition into Ultimate Fighting, like you know, he possibly hinted to.
That I'd like to see.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to see, because you know I'm a huge MMA fan.
Yeah.
And speaking of MMA, since we have a good transition, hopefully next week we're going to have Andrew Calandrelli here. I'm in negotiation with him right now to work out a schedule. Andrew Calandrelli, we've had on the show before. He's got a match coming up on the 28th for Bellator. It's actually a fight, not a match, excuse me, for the Bellator company. And headlining that card is Quentin Rampage Jackson. And that's going to be February 28th at Mohegan Sun. And you can get tickets you know, through your Mohegan Sun box office, and right up the street here at Ultimate MMA. Andrew Calandrelli, I believe, has a few tickets that he's selling himself left over, but they're going quick.
Definitely, it'd be great to meet him. The last time.
Yeah, you weren't in the studio last time.
I wasn't in the studio last time. I was away.
Were you in Vegas? Or were you,
I was heading to Vegas.
Ah, okay.
Remember, then something happened.
Yes, yes. At any rate, hopefully next week we'll have him on, but I will have an update on who he's going to fight and the rest of that card, because I'm really excited for it. I'm already got the night off, and we're ready to rock. I got my tickets, and the last time we went, Andrew wasn't able to fight. He couldn't get clearance from the medical doctor at the last minute, and you know, it was unfortunate. But the Bellator card was fantastic. We had a really great time, and Spike TV product. So Spike TV is going to have it on the air. So if you can't go, you can catch it on Spike. But nothing beats a live, you know, the live experience. And, you know, that includes wrestling, boxing, you know, MMA, and concerts. You know, I mean, you can watch it on TV, but just the atmosphere and the vibe of being there.
Just being there.
Yeah. It's fantastic.
Being there in a Raw live when you're front row and then the fireworks go off.
Right.
It's just something about it.
Yeah, and the Bellator product is really reasonable as compared to the UFC product. The UFC is kind of on the steep end. But, you know, Quentin Rampage Jackson, former UFC fighter, and he's done a couple of movies himself, so get out there and support MMA.
Definitely. You have any news concerning stock? Because everything I have is going back 2 weeks.
Yeah, the stock hit nearly $25 a couple 3-4 days ago, and has dropped a little bit down to like the 22 range. But the earnings statement comes out on the 20th, which is 10 days from now. So I expect to see it jump up again. We're talking about WWE stock, by the way.
Right.
I do expect it to come back up once the earnings statement comes out, because the earnings should reflect some positive action. And of course, 2 weeks from today is the launch of the network. And once those numbers come in and how many people are going to sign up and how much revenue that they expect to get from that, will definitely affect the price of the stock. And the people that sign up for the network, it's just been announced that you will have access to content as soon as you sign up, starting at 9 a.m. So
That's perfect.
Yeah. So
instead of waiting until 11 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
I mean, at night, excuse me.
Yeah, 11 o'clock at night after Raw.
11:05.
11:05, excuse us. Are they saying it's there?
It's been confirmed, don't worry.
Confirmed?
They're talking. Our crack staff is talking about the internet. I did. Thank you very much. I was going to mention that tonight about the Undertaker apparently returning the night of.
Contrary to these silly internet reports that the Undertaker signed with TNA, where do these people get this? You know,
I didn't hear anything.
Oh yeah, I get so many things.
This is wild and wacky.
Oh yeah, I get so many things in my inbox that are completely untrue, and just people on, you know, just making things up and photoshopping. And I recently shared a really good Photoshop of Marty Jannetty for the WWE Hall of Fame that somebody had made up, and it looks legitimate. I mean, it looks really good. And you can
looks
go
perfect.
on our page, yeah. And I mean, come on, that's not happening.
Marty Jannetty in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe one day.
At least not today.
Not this year, I do not believe.
Whoever photoshopped that and put it together, I mean, they did an awesome job. It looks legitimate. And there's so many just bogus reports out there, and you really need to...
we don't know much about the Hall of Fame for this year except Ultimate Warrior and Jake Roberts so far.
Yeah. I do hear that Stacy Keibler is going to be the diva
for the Hall of Fame.
For the Hall of Fame this year, yeah.
That's an interesting...
Good choice. Yeah. Well, I mean, she was extremely popular at the time. And it wouldn't be my choice. I think Lita would be my choice, but...
Lita would be a better choice.
Yeah.
You're probably right about that.
You put in Trish. I think Lita, as far as wrestling ability goes, Stacy Keibler was definitely eye candy, but I can't say that she was a decent wrestler at all.
What about Victoria? No longer...
Right.
Being part of TNA,
right,
might be a good addition too.
That's a possibility too. And you know, Mickie James would be my other choice. Not only is she great looking, she's an excellent wrestler. You know, but your favorite,
Gail Kim, bar none.
So, but Stacy Keibler's out there. She's available, and word has it that she's in negotiation right now. To be entered into the WWE Hall of Fame.
That'd be pretty good.
See what happens.
Induct her? Tori Wilson.
That's a good question.
That'd be a good person to induct her.
That's a good question.
A-Rod.
Yeah, A-Rod's not doing anything.
A-Rod's not doing anything for the next.
Oy.
I tell you, that's another show altogether. That's a baseball show. I don't think we have one over here.
No. Opening day.
Opening day.
Can't wait. Pitchers and catchers are coming up.
Well, I can't wait for opening
less
day
than 10
because
days.
that means it's warm weather.
Yes.
Yeah, and that gets us out of this snow and yucky kind of weather we've been having.
Real quick, did you see my boys on the news talking about baseball?
No, I didn't have to catch that.
They were on FSB. We went up on Sunday to see the 3 World Series trophies from the Red Sox, the Boston Red Sox, and the boys made the news. You can see pictures on my Facebook page. I could share them. I'll share them later with.
They're on Channel 3 and I'm on Channel 18.
Yeah.
Where's the justice in that?
There we go. Hashtag winning.
Hashtag winning.
Hashtag
shield.
Nothing against any Stevie. This is the finest studio in New Haven County.
Absolutely.
As opposed to some other places. But hey, now.
He said it. That was him.
Some other places.
I've taken enough heat. Thank you very much.
No, we won't. No, we're not talking about unmentionables any longer.
Send your cards and letters to Hollywood J.
People that never mind.
Well, you wanted to get to something important at the end of the show. We're reaching at about 10 minutes left.
We are reaching at the 10-minute mark.
So,
why don't we do that?
Yes.
Why don't we get to my opinion about the goings-on? This is going to cover Punk. This is going to cover Brian. This is important. We don't have a worst of the week this week.
Now, mind you, I haven't heard this yet, so go ahead.
So you're going to hear this, and I'll give you the chance to weigh in on my comments.
All right.
And anybody else that would like to. We do not have worst of the week this week. We are preempting it. It was going to be preempted last week, but it's going to be preempted this week. Time for my opinion. Special comment time, folks. Philip Michael Brooks, otherwise known as CM Punk, has left the WWE. One of the 3 most popular stars of the show feels exhausted, frustrated, and alienated by management. As stated before on this show, the man in charge, Vincent Kennedy McMahon, seemingly does not like any character or idea he did not come up with himself, no matter how much money he generates from it. The most popular star on the roster right now, Daniel Bryan, one of these said characters, has a fan base not seen in many, many years. The chants of yes from the crowd are proof positive of that. Just last week, a petition to place Bryan in the main event was blocked by whitehouse.gov, but I am sure another petition will be out there soon. Ever since SummerSlam, Bryan's ambition to become champion has been blocked by storyline, which has to mirror real life. A man of this popularity should be given what he wants. The fans of the WWE Universe should be given what they want. It is nice to see David Batista back, but winning the Royal Rumble, main eventing WrestleMania 30, really? In politics, this is called a sweetheart deal. Triple H as a political figure right now would be accused of cronyism. Nothing short of it. The fans at the Royal Rumble now lashed out at Batista's victory. They booed and jeered it, even though he is a, quote, baby face, unquote. Last week, Cena and Orton were even standing in the ring together, microphones in hand, and the crowd started chanting, Daniel Bryan. The time to listen to the WWE Universe, Mr. McMahon, is now. Now more than ever, when the company has placed everything on the line with the hope that the coming WWE network will be a complete success. Vincent Kennedy McMahon, a character you didn't create, is working. So what if it wasn't your idea? So what if it was somebody else's? As the host of the show and as a fan, I ask of you, sir, and your company, as many others do, run with it. And please listen to, talk to, have contact with Philip Michael Brooks and find out what his needs are. Find out what's bothering him. An unhappy fan base and an unhappy locker room could easily ruin everything you have planned for February 24th and beyond. That's what I had to say. Yeah. I had to say it.
Hey, you know what? I agree with a lot of that. I would say the bulk of it. It's really strange that the treatment of Daniel Bryan, why would you sign this guy in the first place if you were just going to bury him? Doesn't make any sense. You know, Vincent Kennedy McMahon signs Rocky Maivia.
Mm-hmm.
Came in it with, you know, his Rocky Maivia character, and really Rocky Maivia created The Rock.
Right. So, Stone Cold Steve Austin and his wife at the time came up with that character.
Right. So, you know, I mean, there's a lot that, you know, Vince can groom. There's a lot that Vince can do for a character, but Steve Austin created his own character. He was the ringmaster when he walked into WWE, and that character was created by the WWE creative, and
it didn't work.
Didn't work. And when they let Steve Austin be himself, you know, an exaggerated version of himself, he went over. They stuck Edge with the Brood and tried to make him other things, and tried to give him some poor gimmicks. But when they let him be Edge and, you know, become, you know, the greatness that he was, you know, it shined through. So letting these guys be an exaggerated version of themselves is what wrestling has always been about.
Exactly.
So let Daniel Bryan do what Daniel Bryan does best. Don't bury him. Don't bury his character. Let CM Punk do what CM Punk does best.
And see, this is interesting. And we're talking about all this. Maybe somebody else somewhere else in some other show, some internet show, whatever, has also said this to McMahon, because I ran across something today. As the WWE is forced to shift to more athletic-based wrestling matches, dealing with the 3-hour Raws, which are prompting longer matches, WWE's website published an article on where the changes came from. And you know where these changes came from? A company called Ring of Honor. And apparently they've mentioned it.
And who's come from Ring of Honor?
They've interviewed a lot of their alumni.
Yeah.
Their alumni, including Daniel Bryan,
CM Punk,
Antonio Cesaro, Seth Rollins of the Shield, and a guy named that Punk is really close friends with named Colt Cabana.
Correct. Yep.
According to Mr. Cabana, this is a real thing too, that he has left. But I can't understand if they're going to acknowledge Ring of Honor in the first place. Why they're not going to give him the belt? Because they knew it worked over there, obviously, if they're paying attention to the product.
Right. Obviously, this is where they got CM Punk from. This is where they got Daniel Bryan from. And, you know, there's always talk of them looking at Colt Cabana and giving some of the other guys from Ring of Honor, as you mentioned, you know, a leg up. And I just don't get it. You know, I mean, Ring of Honor is definitely a ring-based company because they don't have the bells and whistles and the fireworks and all that production value. So what they can give the fans is the wrestling in the ring.
You go to a Ring of Honor card, you sit down, the bell rings, and the first match starts.
Yes.
A guy doesn't come out with a microphone and stand there for 20 minutes and tell you how great he is.
Right. And we're not saying that, you know, that's a better way to do things, but, you know, it's for a fan base. You know, it's working for them, and we like to see it. But with 3 minutes left, do we have anything really pressing?
I don't really have anything else pressing right now.
Well, I will say that I really hope to bring you Andrew Calandrelli next week and get some insight into the world of Bellator and MMA. And if you've seen us run our spot that we did him demonstrating some self-defense moves with his assistant Marissa. If you've seen that on this station, the East Haven station, Brantford as well, it's some really good stuff, and I suggest you get over to the Ultimate MMA and check them out if you want to get yourself a good workout. Your children learn some self-defense, your wife, your girlfriend learn self-defense, and with that, we'll wrap it up.
We'll wrap it up. I'm Jay Williams. Good night.
John Zimmerman, and have a wonderful week.
Have a wonderful week. Good night and good luck.